up in my house in Sierra Leone, there was always music. One family member only needed to do something like, Daddy sing bass, Mama sing tenor, me and little brother will join right in there. And soon there was music all around the house. We had fun playing a lot of household games, Scrabble, Monopoly. But being a religious family, we were taught a lot of values. We were taught to love. We were taught to have respect, compassion, but above all, kindness. My dad will say, there's no reason not to be kind. We even had catchphrases that we used in the house to depict kindness. One was, happy to share, happy to bear, one another's burdens, that's why we're here. We were given a lot of importance, my parents gave a lot of importance to education. So at a very young age, I was already dreaming to become an engineer. Everything stopped. I was 16, and there was a war. Actually, the war that ravaged Sierra Leone for about a decade started in the town where I grew up. My family and I crossed over from Sierra Leone into Guinea, and we became refugees. Now, life as a refugee was not easy. At 16, I stood in line to receive food rations. I learned to build a shelter, and that is mud, sticks, and some plastic sheet. When the food rations were not enough, my brothers and I worked as porters to make some money and bring home so that mommy can cook. When that was not enough, I saw my mom sell her jewelry and her wearings to also make some money and feed us. Now that in my context is almost as equal to prostitution. Because there was no opportunity for me to go to school, I was on the street selling fuel in bottles. Now, if you go to Africa and you see some kids playing with fuel, with bottles and something that looks like juice, it's not apple juice. It's fuel. That's what I did. And because I could not go to school, I would leave my family in Guinea, in the refugee camps, and I would return to Sierra Leone whenever there was a cessation of the violence and there was a ceasefire, just for me to be able to go back to school. This was my life for the 10 years that the war lasted. I will leave my family in Guinea, go to Sierra Leone. There will be a war, and then I will come back and join them. In 1999, I was again in Sierra Leone. This time, I was in my first year of university, studying engineering. Another war broke out. My family was in Guinea. We had lost contact, and I was in a very brutal war. Actually, most of what people know about the Sierra Leonean war happened in this period. I saw people being killed, shot, and waiting for their time to die. I saw vultures eating dead bodies in the streets. I saw people whose limbs were cut. And what this did to me was it changed me. It changed my life. I lost my innocence. I became angry with the world. I became angry with myself. Here I was already trying to achieve my dreams, and there's another war. So I said to myself, the only thing I will do is to leave, is to stay here. I'm not going to run anymore. I'm also going to take a weapon and fight. So I decided to join a fighting group. Now, before I went to war to fight in the army, I decided to go back when there was an opportunity to my parents and seek their blessing. It was one Sunday morning in my parents' house, now in Guinea. The telephone rang. And on the side of the telephone was my friend, with whom I had registered for the army. And he said, "Abraham, come. You've been selected. You're a cadet officer. This is our chance. Let's go to war." Promising him that I will return, I will come to him, I put down the phone. I turned, and there was my dad. He had that look. He wanted to know what I was talking about. So I told him, "Dad, remember when I came, I told you my plans, that I no longer want to run, and now is the time. I just got a call that I've been selected for the army. I'm going, and I'm going to fight." He told me, "Junior," that's the name they called me home, "sit down." And I sat down. He said, "For all the time that the war had lasted, I spared you some details, things that I now think you need to know. Do you remember this person?" And that was the name of his youngest brother. And I said, "Yes, I remember. He's dead, right? Yeah, he was killed. He died, yeah." And my dad said, "It was not a natural death. He was killed in that war." And he went on to call many more names of people that I knew who had suffered violence, who had suffered rape, and who were killed. And he said, "While you were away, I was praying for you to come back. If you went back into that war and something were to happen to you, I don't know if I will survive it." And he cried. Now you know, a typical African man, it's not very easy to see him cry. Seeing my dad cry left me with mixed feelings. I was angry. Angry because I knew the effect of what his tears would do to me. But I was no longer in that position. I was a changed person. I was a soldier. I wanted to go and fight. That was my life now. So I said, "Dad, what am I going to do? I have been a refugee. I'm not going to continue being a refugee for the rest of my life. It's been 10 years. I am 26 years old. I don't have a bank account. I don't have a job. I don't even have a certificate to show that I'm somebody in this world. I can't stay. I'm going." And he said, "I can't answer to all the things that you have, all the questions that you have now. But if you listen to me, I will pray." Dad, we've been praying for how long? And the war is still going on. I'm not going to sit to wait for another prayer to be answered. This is about my life. And this is what I want to do. I left the room. It was a couple of days afterwards, there was another telephone call. This time it was from a guy called Gerald Dams from Holland. Now, Gerald Dams had visited Guinea while I was away, and I didn't have any communication with my parents and going through the war that I explained earlier. Gerald Dams met my parents. He heard their story. He heard that they had a son that was missing in the war. And he grew friendship with them. When he went back to Holland, this tourist took upon himself to call every now and then to ask, "Is Junior home?" Finally today, on a fateful day that he called, they told him, "Yes, Junior is here." But before he could get excited, they told him, "But there is a problem." And Gerard said to my parents, "What's the problem?" My parents said to him, "He cannot stay." "What do you mean he cannot stay?" "Because we can't keep him here. He doesn't see his dreams in this place." So Gerard asked, "What can we do? What can I do?" My parents said, "The only thing that we know would keep this young man here is if he were able to go back to school." And he said, "Why not?" They said, "There are schools here. They are private. They are very expensive, but we can't afford it." Gerard, hearing that, said to my parents, please go, find a way to open an account for him, register him in school, and I will pay for his education. Gerard kept to his promise. He paid for me to go back to school. I went back to school. I went to college, and I graduated in 2002. I went back to the camps where I work with refugees. But Gerald Dams, a tourist from Holland, is the reason I do what I do. The truth is, I still have never met Gerard. But he is kindness embodied for me. Every day that I do my work, I remember the words, through his kindness, that we sang in our house. Happy to share, happy to bear one another's burdens. That's why we're here. Thank you.